Hello, coaches. Welcome back to another episode of Coach Better Spotlight. My name is Kim Capino, and I've worked with hundreds of teachers, coaches, and leaders in schools around the world through my courses, consulting, mentoring, and membership to help them create thriving and sustainable instructional coaching programs. And I'm on a mission to help you coach better. Wherever you are in your coaching journey, we can support you. Ready to take your next step? Get a tailored list of Coach Better resources designed specifically for your experience level to help you coach better today. Take our free quiz at coachbetter.tv/quiz to get started. In today's Spotlight episode, I am chatting with Reem Labib Tyson. She's an experienced teacher, instructional coach, principal, and district administrator, and now she's CEO and founder of Edspired Coaching and Consulting, where she primarily works with leaders as an executive coach. Reem's extensive background and experience in so many different contexts as a coach and educator gives a powerful lens to view coaching from multiple perspectives. And the focus of our conversation today is so important for coaches and leaders at all levels of experience. In this spotlight, we're focused on how to coach the person, not the problem. In the full-length audio podcast, we are also talking about how coaches can use mindfulness and a human-centered approach to slow down the pace of a very busy school day, how and why leaders benefit from coaching too, and how coaches and leaders can find presence, joy, and novelty in their work. To listen to the full-length audio episode, subscribe to Coach Better wherever you get your podcasts. Today's episode highlights a key aspect of coaching that can help all coaches, new and experienced coaches alike, think a little bit differently about the way we create space for our coaching partner and to focus on the person, not the problem. I talked about how I create that space in my coaching conversations in a previous Quick Tips episode this season. I'll link up here and in the show notes for you. If you're curious about diving deeper into those skills after you watch this video and maybe that video, I hope you'll join us in one of our courses for coaches. I'll tell you more about them at the end of this episode. Before we begin with today's episode, I want to let you know that you can find all the ways to connect with me via my website, social media, all of my courses, books, and resources in the description for this episode. You can also find the show notes for today's episode and all of our resources for instructional coaches on our website at coachbetter.tv. Okay, let's jump into the clip with Reem. When you think about leaders and leadership, how can they embrace a coaching mindset? How can they model a coaching mindset for the community? And as we talk about that, I'm curious your thoughts about how might that look different from the work of instructional coaches. So when leaders are modeling and leaders are doing it, how might that be different from the work of instructional coaches?
I mean, when I think about like a leader using coaching, I think there's an opportunity everything's future focused, right? So it's really taking someone from where they are and helping them figure out where they're going, right? And even with that, I mean, I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget, but like you also can't just ask questions because it can be first of all, very frustrating, especially if someone's not aware of like what coaching is and isn't, but also you don't want people to spin and feel like frustrated that they're like, oh my God, I keep asking questions and I don't know where they're trying to take me. So that's also something to be aware of. But I think with instruction or coaching, I think that there's a lot of opportunity for questioning in terms of like reflecting on whatever the work is that, is being done to then think about planning forward. And that, for me, a lot of the coaching work I do is just around like inner leadership. And so it's a lot more like it's coaching the person, not the problem. So as a leader, I think there's opportunity to coach the person versus we're so quick to solve people's problems in schools because there's no time, right? We're just moving. So that's, I think, kind of going back to what we said before, just about like, why do we need to slow down or like, when can we be slowing down? It's really, if I support this person in this way now, they can then support themselves later and support others. So how do we help build capacity versus, can I solve your problem? Most of the time I probably could, but is that going to serve you in the long run?
Yes, like everything you just said, absolutely. And I'm like typing as fast as furiously as I can because I really appreciate what you just said. So love everything is future focused, taking someone from where they are and helping them figure out where they're going.
Yeah.
That mindset maybe it to me seems like, yeah, of course, that's what coaching is, but that the way that you said it, that needs to be stated. And maybe that's something that coaches need to hear, leadership coaches and instructional coaches too, like on the regular, like this is really about where the person is and where do they want to go? Where do they need to get to next? But then that point about you can't just ask endless questions. And that's one of the things that frustrates me about coaching in general is I think sometimes it gets internalized as I can't ever say anything to you. I just have to always ask you questions. And that is a recipe for disaster because you can't pull out of someone what they don't already have. And you can't just keep asking questions, hoping that somehow somebody's going to have an answer. If they don't, like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And then your point about if I don't know where the questions are leading, it just feels like I'm like going around in a hamster wheel asking and answering questions where there's no destination. But what really struck me is the coaching the person, not the problem. And I know that's like a summary of everything you said before, but I just love that phrase because that's exactly what we're trying to talk about. And the way that I usually describe it, when you were talking about we can't always solve everyone's problems because we're so busy, even though it's so instinctive or it's like our nature to want to solve someone's problems. The way I usually describe it is it feels really tempting to be like the superhero and fly someone over the gap, but we have to help them build the bridge so they can walk over it the next time they see a similar gap. And that's exactly what you're talking about when you're talking about coaching the person, not the problem. So I just want to give you a tiny little bit of space to tell us a little bit more about coaching the person, not the problem. And like, what do you mean a little bit more about that? And how might coaches or leaders really be intentional about that in their work?
Two things. When I was in my coaching program, I purposefully, we had to take on pro bono clients, and I purposefully worked with people that were not educators and completely outside of ed. And it was really because I had to figure out, okay, how do I coach this person when I can't solve their problem? So if I'm coaching a lawyer, I don't know that work. So I'm here to support you and to hold space and to help you move along. But if you ask me intricate questions, I'm not a lawyer. I don't know. And so really, a lot of it's really asking, agreeing to like, well, what is it that you really want from this conversation today? And what would make this conversation feel successful? And again, putting all this back on the person and holding space and slowing down enough that I would say 90% of the time people figure out their own solution. They just needed to slow down and and like, just honestly, the way I describe it to people is it's processing out loud. And then we put the pieces back in whatever order feels right for right now. And then you commit to what you want to do next.
That when I was saying I just recorded a podcast episode about that, that is exactly how it went on. Like check in with the person. And then all we're doing is I'm structuring your thoughts. Like it's not magic. But I really appreciate the way that you've described the difference. Because to me, what you are talking about is how I see instructional coaching, and it's how I train the people that I work with, and it's how I coach people all the time. Like I am always thinking, I don't know the answer to your question, because I know that the problem with coaching is we're always trying to give people answers. And if you don't own the learning, you're not going to remember it the next time you need to do something. I'm telling you what to do. You're just taking it, doing it, not really processing. So exactly what you're talking about, helping the person have space to arrange their thinking in such a way that they can arrive at the understanding that you may not have even had when they ask the question at the beginning of the conversation. And then they can choose, this is the next step I want to take.
One of the other things that I think comes up often. So if you are trying to do that with a friend or even a colleague, right? I mean, people they'll listen, but they'll try to help you solve your problem. And oftentimes people don't always want that. They just want to be heard. And so one of the things that, even in those situations, you don't have to be a coach to be able to say, like, do you want me to listen or do you want me to give advice? And then that way the person knows, like, how am I serving you in this conversation?
Yes. Giving your coaching partner agency into what kind of support they need in this moment in time. Thank you so much for watching this clip with Reem. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I absolutely love the way she phrased the work of coaching the person, not the problem. This is often a challenge for coaches, despite the amount of experience they might have, because we all have the intrinsic desire to want to help. As Reem said, schools are busy places, and we want to make things easier and smoother for our coaching partners. But this is often when our own experience can get in the way of our coaching skills. If that resonates, check out one of my previous quick tips episodes from last season on that very topic, which I'll link up here and in the show notes for you. And as I mentioned in the intro, I shared the way I structure my own coaching conversations to avoid that problem in a quick tips episode from this season, which I'll also link up here and in the show notes for you. When we're coaching other educators, particularly when it's in our own area of expertise, it can be really hard to stay within a coaching stance without slipping into being an expert or a consultant. I've got more videos on that too, which I'll link up here and in the show notes for you. If this is a skill you're looking to develop, I invite you to join one of our courses for coaches. We talk about navigating coaching stances in all of our courses at the level that's just right for your experience. Each of our global cohorts create intentional time and space for instructional coaches and educators around the world to gather together and actually talk about our work and how we can continue to grow in the right next step for each individual. We offer 4 global cohorts a year, all tailored to your specific experience level. Each of our global cohorts are designed to support you in developing your coaching capacity based on your specific experience level. So if you're an educator or a leader ready to learn about a coaching mindset, join Cultivating a Coaching Mindset. Or if you're a brand new or aspiring coach thinking about making the move from classroom to coaching, join us in Getting Started as an Instructional Coach, which is actually open for registration right now. If you're a current coach or an educator who's dedicated to building a thriving coaching program and deepening your coaching practice, join us in the Coach Certificate and Mentorship Program. Or if you're an experienced coach who's ready to lead, to embrace the informal leadership aspects of your role, come join us in Coaches as Leaders. If you're listening to this episode as it airs, Getting Started as an Instructional Coach is open for registration right now. And the skill of avoiding the advice monster is a huge feature of that course. In fact, we have a whole episode about this topic, which is actually a coaching call with one of my Getting Started graduates, Vicki Hupel, where we're talking about how to avoid the advice monster. So if you want to understand a little bit more about that, get a peek into the course, Getting Started as an Instructional Coach, check out that episode, which I'll link up here and in the description for you. Registration for Getting Started as an Instructional Coach opens only once a year, and it's open right now. Get all the details at edurolearning.com/getting started. But not just new coaches struggle with the advice monster. This is a skill we need to keep developing in our coaching practice, whether it's our first year as a coach or our 10th. This is why we include the concept of navigating coaching stances in all of our courses for coaches. In fact, it's a huge takeaway for most graduates of the Coach Certificate and Mentorship Program too. We focus on navigating coaching stances in each course at the depth that's just right for your experience level based on the course that you joined. So if you're not sure if Getting Started as an Instructional Coach is the right course for you right now, watch one of our free workshops designed for your experience level so you can take the next step in your learning right now and discover which course might be right for you next. Find them all on our Coach Better website at coachbetter.tv/workshops. Wherever you are in your coaching journey, we can support you. If today's conversation resonated with you and you'd like to get a transcript as well as all of the other resources that I've mentioned in this episode, head over to the show notes at coachbetter.tv to find everything from today's episode, which is linked in the description below. If you're curious right now, if you have questions, please reach out. You can leave a comment down below or on the show notes on our website at coachbetter.tv. You can join our Coach Better Facebook group, or you can find us on social media at Eduro Learning and send me a DM. I'd love to support you on your coaching journey. See you next time.